All right, welcome everyone. It is Pulse Overtime where we answer your questions, your thoughts, anything of the real estate market you're having challenges with in your real estate business. I'm joined by my friend and business partner, Anna McKill. Hi, Anna.
Hey, Brendan. Hey, Pulse Nation.
Hey,
How's it going?
hey, pretty good. So every week we come at 11:30 Mountain Standard Time, following our Pulse Power session, which is at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Every week to take a deeper dive. We get so many questions during the session that we want to make sure we're able to accommodate and yeah, just provide as much value as possible. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. And Anna, this week we the strategy that we're discussing and that we went into deep instruction on is how to provide either a seller, buyer, or investor workshop or seminar, and how top agents across the country are having massive success with this. And in fact, one of the agents up in New York, Sue Adler, in January alone did 22 closed transactions for $375,000 in gross commission income from doing seller webinar, or excuse me, seller workshops, seller seminars. So that was the basis. In our session, we gave a detailed system on exactly how to do that. And there's a lot of pieces in this, but once you get it, it is a gold mine. So Anna, let's start with just maybe a few of those questions, and then as people are joining us on the actual live stream, if you have a question on the live stream, all you have to do is post it. We see it in real time, and we'll answer it as best we can.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of people joining us. I want to say hello to Mr. John Prescott joining us from Austin, Texas. Thanks for being with us here on Pulse Overtime. So really, I think we've got to take one step back in knowing why are we doing these seminars, right? And we talked a lot about the why behind it because we can go out there and we can execute any strategy. One of the first questions we got is, why would I want to do this against everything else? What's it going to do for me in my business?
Yeah, so when it comes to a seller, investor, or buyer workshop, the biggest thing that we always are thinking about as professionals is how do we attract people into our world at scale, right? So I said this, if you're doing a seller workshop or a seller seminar, think about it. Instead of doing a listing presentation for one person at a time, if I have 30 attendees come to my seller workshop, I'm doing a listing presentation to 30 people and using the same amount of energy and time that it would have taken me to do one outbound presentation. Now, we get it that everyone that right then is not going to sign a listing agreement that moment, but they're attending your workshop because they have some sort of interest in either selling, buying, or investing in the future. Then it gives us that ability to get them into the database. And now, once we have them in the database, using the numbers that we know from our good friend Jay and Gary and Jason and all the smart people in the higher ups of Keller Williams, we know that it's a 12 to 2 ratio for what we call a Met, right? In our world, we call it an ambassador, just meaning that for every 12 people that are in our inner circle that we have on a touch system, we're going to get one deal from and one piece of referral business. Now, in our world, we just call those ambassadors, same concept, and it's a 6 to 1. We just made the numbers easier, and we've monitored this for years now. I've coached people from every different state across the country. If I take their database and I go, talk me through your database and how many people do you have on this system, I can almost set my watch for every 6 that they have on 46 touches or more, they're getting a deal a year from in the way of either a referral. So the reason we want to do this strategy is just so we can constantly be filling our database or our data bank, right? We can get into relationships with people. And me and Anna, educational content, it drives sales. If we provide value, then in return, I'm not asking for anything in reciprocation. You're naturally going to reciprocate with your business at some point. We were laughing earlier about it's what we're doing right now, right? We're providing educational content to get people into our world. For us at market centers or brokerages, when we host a class, we're hosting a class getting people into our world. We're providing value. If they find value in it, then maybe they become part of our brokerage. Maybe they want to work with us. Maybe they want to get into a coaching real estate relationship with us. But we have to offer a lot of free abundance of education to bring these people in. I remember last year I was at the Keller Williams CEO Summit, and the agent, she was from Colorado Springs. Her niche was veteran seminars. So she would do seminars on helping veterans understand how to leverage their VA benefits to use to buy a home, right? To move forward buying a home. She was crushing it. She was doing like 490 deals from the VA because she was in Colorado Springs, where they're Fort Carson. There's a big military base there. So there's so many ways to take this, but the idea and the concept is very simple. Provide value, bring you into my world, and then eventually build a relationship with you, and we'll do business together.
Absolutely. So to kind of build on that, and I want to say hello to Deborah in Denver, Colorado, as well as Vicky from Las Vegas, Nevada. Thanks so much for joining us. When we talk about building the seminar, and we're going to take a deep dive into this over the next couple of weeks and really kind of breaking this down, and that is the power of Pulse. Is there's a ton of great ideas. There's a ton of validity on strategies that are working, but we've got to break it down into bite-sized pieces that we can execute on week over week. So when we talk about seminars, there's 4 primary components. First, we have to build the workshop. Then we need to drive activity, interest, and traffic to that workshop. Then we actually get to deliver the workshop, and then we get to follow up. So this week we focused a lot on how to build it. And for those folks in Pulse Nation, we have a business plan on how you can build the seller, buyer, or investor workshop. You can check that out in the Pulse replay vault. But one of the pieces that came out as far as one of the questions was, number one, how often should I be doing these seminars? And do I have to be doing this all on my own? Let's dive into
Great.
that.
So 2 questions. So frequency. So first of all, frequency matters. As we said, if you've never done one, then the goal is, and what we taught is to do one a quarter and have it scheduled out to do one a quarter. That's going to give you enough time to set up the marketing, learn from the last one you did, all of those things. Now, the top professionals across the country are doing a minimum of one a month. And now think about this rotation as you start to build this muscle. Maybe 1 month you're doing buyer, the next month you're doing seller, the next month you're doing investor. Maybe even the next month, if are wanting to get fluid in the VA world and you want to help veterans and do all that, the 4th month you're doing a VA one. Once you understand these are just 4 presentations that are, not to say canned, but a lot of ways canned in what you're doing, you're going to learn the content. You're going to bring on guests that you're going to interview that also are going to co-host this with you. And so it's just a frequency. Now, we talked about Sue, who did 22 deals in January for 375,000 in GCI. She does 3 a month, right? So she's doing 3 a month, all focused just on sellers. She doesn't do any of the other kinds. She's like, if I'm going to spend any of my time, I'm going to do sellers. So she does 2 in person and 1 Zoom every single month. She does 1 in person during the week, 1 in person on the weekend, and then 1 Zoom session during the week to capture as many people as possible. So again, not to freak everyone out, she's doing 22 deals a month, right? From this massive lead gen tool or relationship building tool that she has. I would recommend starting with 4 a year, crush those 4. If after your first one you're like, hey, no problem, then maybe you go every 60 days. But just think about building that muscle, I think, is a big piece. And I'm sorry, was that both questions?
Yeah, no, there was a lot in there, and we're going to kind of weave in and out of some of these questions that we got. You mentioned that Sue has a cadence of success where she's doing some during the week, some during the weekends. She's also doing them in high traffic areas where the organic interest is going to happen. So she does her in-person events at the local library. And one of the questions that we got from an amazing agent in Denver, Colorado, Kendra Madrid, asked, does she partner with the library? Do you have to create partnerships with these venues or restaurants or libraries? Or to me, that feels like an up level, right? You can simply just find a space. Let's kind of talk about how you select a venue, the pros and cons of if you choose to do it in person, what you really should be looking for in making sure that it's a successful seminar, not only for you, but the people that attend.
Okay, so a couple things in there. So let's talk venue for a second, just in thinking this through as we set up this workshop. Um, so the reason she does the library, and again, to answer Kendra's question, you don't have to build any relationship with the library. Since it's a public space, they utilize these public spaces for you to be able to use. Now, some of them have a small fee, like I think $50. Some of them don't have any fee at all. You reserve it in advance. And the reason she does the library is because, again, she gets a lot of other people coming into the library that are like, oh, I'm here to get XYZ book. And oh, there's a seminar going on. Might as well pop in on that. Right. So they just pop in on that. And that's how that works. Usually, what we've seen most people do is they use their office. Right. For us at Keller Williams, of course, we usually have big training rooms. And so you see people utilize those areas to be able to have that kind of availability. We heard from Kazan earlier. You can do like the Elks Club. You can do all kind of different places. For me, where I've had a lot of success with this is I own rentals in over 55 plus communities. So I just do the community center at the clubhouse because a lot of people we think sometimes, well, if they're in an over 55, they've already sold a lot. People haven't sold a house sometimes in a few years. They know stuff has changed. And a lot of people that are in over 55 plus communities, they don't got anything else to do. They're really not much. It's like golf, dinner, and I'm going to go sit at this seminar because I probably get a free beer and I get to talk to some more people and hang out. Right? That's just the facts. So I think about it going, where am I going to have the most availability? But don't let venue hold you up. I mean, that's just, of course, there's always cool ways to improve and get smarter, faster, better. I think your second question is partnering and looking at these relationships of people that you're going to be working with. There's someone in your world right now, whether it's a lender, they have an office space that you can do it at. You have inspectors that play, that are members at a golf club. You have all kind of different things. You should never have a challenge in getting the space. A lot of people use their church, and they'll offer this at their local church as part of helping the congregation, which people have a ton of success doing it there. But you've got to come from a place and a mindset, Anna, and I do think this is so critical, where it is 100% I'm doing this to help, not I'm 100% doing this to get business. We of course know we're going to get the business. We're going to talk about and how to market it next week. We're going to talk about in the next week how to actually run the play and how you can capture referrals and things during the session. But if you go into this and you're not coming from a place of abundance going, I really want to provide great value. And if I do that over and over again, no matter what, I'm going to get it reciprocated. You're going to have a lot more success instead of going, I'm coming straight out the gate to just try to capture as many leads as humanly possible and convert everybody and all this stuff. That's what I would say as far as making sure picking the partner and picking the people that you're doing it with. Make sure the strategy is just to provide education.
Yeah. And to kind of just close that loop even one step further, we have an amazing agent, Corey DeLuce, that also asked the question, can I partner with another agent? And we spoke briefly about this on our session as far as, let's say, I don't want to take on all 45 minutes of that seminar. Can you and I partner up and co-host the seminar? And one of the things to just kind of recap the overarching question, and then Brendan, I want you to kind of take a deeper dive into it is, yes, you can, but you have to have a fierce conversation up front and set expectations. You can't be nice going into your partner being like, I don't know, we'll just figure it out. And fingers crossed, everything kind of plays itself out, because that's when relationships break. That's when people get fussy about whose lead is who. And then it doesn't feel like it's a really successful process. On the other side, you've seen people do it at a very high level. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I'm one of those people where I don't like doing anything by myself, right? I am a team player. So I'm always making sure. So even in doing this in the past, there's easy ways to do this. If you're going to do it in a partnership, you can split the leads by A through L, and then the alphabet. Whoever has a last name A through L that comes to the seminar, I get. Whoever you have, and there might be times where you're getting 6 leads and the other person got 1, and that just happened to be the alphabetical game that was played that day, right? Sometimes it's going to be the other way, but you can make this very simple so that you can have fun with it, and there's clear standards, and no one's going to step on anybody's toes, right? And look at this in any possible way. What the challenge is on the front side is just deciding who's going to do what piece of the work, right? If
Yeah.
someone's going to be more of the presenter and the other person's going to be more of the marketeer, then you just got to make sure that those are clearly established on the front side. But yeah, other than that, again, and if you do it once and you don't think it was great with the partner, then don't do it again. At the end of the day, the partners that I'm more worried about is the lender partner that I'm working with, the contractor, the stager, making sure that they're prepped ahead of time. The mistake that I made early on is I picked some unenthusiastic presenters and I didn't prep them well enough. So you forget sometimes that if you bring on a home inspector and maybe they're not, I don't know, personable because they're maybe a home inspector and that's not their thing. I've got to prep them to be very careful on how they answer questions to not scare the people to death of being like, yeah, every time we sell a house, you're probably looking at 40 grand of inspection costs that you're going to get dinged with. And then everyone's like, oh, I'm not selling it. I'm definitely not using this guy or these people, right? So the prepping of the talent, if that's the right way, and just making sure that we go, look, we're here to provide education and, of course, be 100% honest. But at the same time, we're not trying to terrify anybody because the end goal of this is to build relationships so I can help these people sell. And then you did see this question from
Yeah.
Anne. Okay.
We're getting to it. You're excited, and I am too, because she has a banger of a question. But I do, before we jump into it, and I think the audience might have missed it, but you just dropped a fire nugget that I want to just circle back around on. If you're going to do a panel of experts, whether it's a lender, a general contractor, or an inspector, set the expectations, provide them the questions you want them to answer on the panel. Do not play it fast and loose and see how it all shakes out, because you will be massively disappointed. And that's not
Yeah.
because they're not trying their hardest, but everyone loves some bumpers on their bowling lane. So give them to them.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, we're not looking for freestyle here. That's a big piece of this is just making sure in the PowerPoints that we provided in our session and in our Pulse Vault, they're very queued up to help you just cue exactly what those questions should be. Um, and the whole goal here is to get everybody more business. The inspector's going to get more business. The lender's going to get more business. I love it. We were talking about the investor one today, a 1031 intermediary, having them come on and being able to explain as becoming an investor how you can do 1031s to make sure that you're deferring taxes all the way down the line, and so many cool things that people don't know about that they need the value. Kazan earlier said title insurance and certain things, and it's like, what is title insurance? Things that we think are common, people don't know.
Yeah. So let's jump into Anne's question, because it is a powerful one. And I think it really kind of speaks to kind of our four planets of lead generation. So I want you to kind of talk through it. But essentially, the question for the audience is, in Pulse, we take some of the top strategies across the nation and across the world, and we break them into bite-sized pieces. Now, if you were with us several months ago, we talked about Will Van Wickler. He's a 24-year-old, did 26 listings in 12 months through a single strategy called the Golden Letter. Now we fast forward multiple months. Now we're talking about Sue Adler and her amazing strategy of this seller seminar. So Brendan, is it the goal to just have a single strategy that then you build $1 million business on? Or is it eventually to kind of get a strategy in prospecting, networking, internet presence, and direct mail? How do we kind of pull this all together? Is it pick and choose your adventure, or is it stacking concepts on top of concepts to have the most powerful shift-proof business out there?
Well said. So what we look at is we're trying to have, if all of our eggs are in one basket, then that's dangerous. So what Ann is talking about with our four planets of lead generation, we have prospecting, networking, internet presence, or just basically getting deals from the internet, and then direct mail. So when I look at my strategies and I try to think about which ones I'm going to leverage, I look at first going, how many leads do I need to produce every single month to hit the numbers that I'm wanting to have? So to answer Ann's question, if my goal is to do 12 deals in a year, I hope that's not the goal, but if that's your goal, and maybe it is, maybe your average sales price for some people's are is $2 million, and that's a heck of a year. It's great, right? If that's your goal, right, then I'm trying to go, how many leads do I need to have to produce that? Now, we know in our world, it takes 6 ambassadors, 6 people that trust me, that would do real estate business with me, that are on 46 touches or more. You hear us talk about all the time. The challenge that I have to do is I have to go, am I going to be able to produce enough of those from just doing golden letters, right? The answer is maybe. You have to figure out, again, as we know with Will, for every 300 mailers, he gets 6 phone calls. And out of the 6 phone calls, one of those turns into a listing appointment. So you've got to think about your budget. We've got to think about all of those pieces. What I like to do is have powerful strategies all working together. So if you think about it, like in our world, our real estate team, we have a couple of major things that we hit. We have a giveaway, we have a business spotlight, and then we have our client appreciation event. Sorry, I was trying to think of the third one, a client appreciation event. Those are 3 strategies that we use every single month or every single quarter to generate business towards our business. Now, we could just be all in on giveaways. We could try to be all in on business spotlights. We could try to be all in on client appreciation events. I feel like we wouldn't have the ability to have enough phone calls, enough reasons to talk to people, right? If you think about it, the golden letter is one strategy that you're putting out to get inbound calls coming in, right? Which is awesome. Now we're creating another strategy with a seller, investor, whatever type of seminar we're trying to do, where we're trying to go, look, we're going to bring people into our world. So maybe golden letter is, I'm interested in selling. Well, the buyer that I have isn't the right fit for you. But you know what's great? I've got this seller seminar coming up on March 15th. Sounds like you have some sort of interest in coming. I'd love you to come as my VIP guest to my seminar. And it's just another step in that progression to get them from don't know who I am to holding hands to making out to money babies, right? We want to have our little money babies running all around town. So we're just trying to go through this progression. It's just another step in that relationship to be able to do that. So, Ann, and that was a lot in there. Let me simplify it like this. If you are still trying to master your golden letter process and you want to focus solely on that, then learn this strategy, go through the process, but don't implement it yet until you go, you know what? I'm not going to start doing seminars until I've got X amount of response or business from my golden letter process. It just depends on about how much time you have. I don't want you trying to be the jack of all trades, master of none, because in another 4 weeks, we're going to be talking about another brilliant strategy that someone else uses. You might want to pick it up. You might want to take pieces from it. You might want to do anything with it at all, right? It could be something where you're like, that is not me. I'm never going to do it. But what I've learned from 21 plus years of doing this, all the masterminds I've been to, all of the agents that I've learned from, I always, even if I don't use the strategy, I take pieces of the strategy and maybe I use that in the golden letter strategy, or maybe I use it in these other pieces. So the best way I can answer is it depends on how many leads you need per month and if you're going to get enough from them from doing the golden letter. Number 2, your time and availability of comfort of going, am I there yet? Right? If you want to take more time, then don't jump to anything else. Stay super laser focused until you've got 1,600 golden letters going out every single month. Right? That's completely up to you. I would just, like I said, Sue does 3 of these a month. She's not probably, I'm pretty sure she's not doing golden letters. I actually know she's not doing golden letters. She's not doing this other stuff. This is her main jam and she loves it. And she feels very passionate about it. She likes helping people be educated. If that's not your jam, it's not going to be your jam.
Yeah. So let's tack onto the back end of that. So Ann Skinner also implemented the golden letter strategy. And congratulations to her, shout out for putting that into play, and she's seeing results. So now she's got 3 appointments. And now she's asking, great, now I have the appointments. Do I just go on a traditional listing presentation? What does the conversation look like? Is it any different because it was from a golden letter?
Right. So basically, send out golden letters. Somebody calls, says, hey, yeah, we'd love to have you come over to, obviously the premise of the golden letter is I have a buyer that's interested in your house, or I have buyers that I'm working with that are interested in your house. So, number one, you're always going over there with the intent to list the property, period. So, that's it. No matter what, we're going there to list the house. Full listing presentation, market analysis, everything's done. Running this scenario, person opens the door. They say, hey, yeah, it's great meeting you. So, want to show you the house. You think it's going to be a good fit for your buyer? You go, absolutely. Either your buyer's already bought a house, or if the buyer is a good fit for this, then you go, absolutely. It is definitely a great fit for my buyer. Now, to be honest with you, John, Susie, I could only have my buyer come here. I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with letting you know that I could bring a lot of buyers here, which is going to obviously get you the highest price possible. And my buyer could still want to move forward with it. If I were to able to sit down for a few minutes, let's talk about the strategy that we utilize to maximize the highest price possible. And if my buyer's the right fit, we can still work out something there. But I would feel like I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't take your property, or at least explain to you how to take your property to the market. So we have millions of buyers interested in your home instead of just one. So that's how I pivot that conversation all the time to make sure that, yeah, we are always being held in integrity, but at the same time, it's very true. The weirdest thing about sellers' minds is they think, well, yeah, if you've got a buyer, I might be interested in selling. That's so bizarre to think about. Why would you only want one person interested in your property when we could put it to the open market and have a ton of people? The reason is they think they're either going to get a better deal and not pay any commission because you've got this one buyer and do all that. You can make a side agreement for that one buyer if it's the right fit, that there's only X amount of compensation, and then still go, but why don't we at least take it to the market for just 1 week? And here's my favorite line in doing this. So I always go, if it was a perfect situation, we waged a magic wand and you didn't have to do anything, just give me access to your house for 1 weekend, and we were able to have as many buyers interested in the property as possible. And by Monday, have, again, the response of the market, offers, multiple offers, or at least know that the open market had the chance to see your property. If that's great and you want to do that, then you're going to get the best results possible. If not, then we can obviously sell to this one-off buyer, but I would be concerned that we'd be doing you a disservice by not opening it up to the entire market, right? So I just want to make sure, because she also said, I've had 3 calls. The conversation goes at the first visit home. It seems like it should be adapted from a normal listing presence, so I want to get a sense of how that goes. Yeah, okay, perfect. I think I answered that, right? Yeah. You're always going. We talked to Will about this too in detail because he does a ton of these, right? I've done a ton of these where I never sent the letter in. I would do this all the time. I would make the phone call. I call it a just sold or a just listed, or I have a buyer call. I was much more phone heavy. I never relied on the letters, which I wish looking back I would have been better at the letters. I was just always calling and going, hey, this home sold at 123 Elm Street, right down the street from you. It sold for $10,000 over asking price. We're still working with a lot of buyers that are interested in this property. In fact, I'm working with a young couple. She's a young nurse. Her husband's actually a fireman. We've looked at everything in the neighborhood. There's nothing that fits what they're looking for. So I was calling today to see if you or anyone else you know might be interested in selling. And I would make that call 150 times a day. And I would hit person after person. But then I would come over and they'd be like, so the couple, the young couple, the fireman and the nurse, which was a real couple. I wasn't like lying all the time about a couple, right? It was a real couple, but sometimes the house wasn't the right fit. I'd be like, oh, actually, they really need a main floor master, or they need a 2-story. But since I'm here, I'd love, it sounds like you're interested in selling. If we could just have 15 minutes for me to sit down with you to explain the strategy that we take to help you get the highest price possible in the shortest time possible. And it just transfers to that. And I'm talking really fast because of time. I wouldn't talk that fast normally.
And we want to make sure we've got one more Pulse Power agent, Brittany Berkeley, that we want to make sure we get your question answered because it's a fantastic one. If you're a new agent, you've never gone through the home buying process, new agent or not, maybe you just haven't bought a home yet in your life. Should I still host how do they feel qualified? Brendan, give them some pro tips on, I've never bought a home. Who am I to host a first-time home buyer seminar?
I love this. So that's why on Keller Inc., INK, Keller Inc., they have a whole strategy guide. So remember, right now there's someone out there selling Ferraris that don't own Ferraris, right? There's a guy at a Ferrari dealership right now, guarantee you, that's selling multiple Ferraris a month, does not own a Ferrari, right? So don't feel like because you don't have the product, but you know what the product is, right? So if it was me and I'm a brand new agent, the first one I'm going to do is the first time home buyer webinar, or excuse me, seminar or workshop. There's a book that Keller provides, which is called Buying Your First Home. You're going to read that book, and then during this, you're going to lean a lot more on your lender and the presentation. Remember, all you're doing is reading off a presentation of going, here is how you have success in buying your first home. That's it. Don't feel any type of way. I rented a property for, I think, maybe 2 years when I first got into real estate. I was still in a rental, working through things and trying to figure it all out. And I was selling houses every day. Didn't know, I didn't own one, right? So I think we get in our head sometimes that we have to be owners of the product to sell the product. We just need to know how to present the presentation so people find value from education. Just like teachers teach things all the time. They don't do it, right? They don't all the time know exactly what they're doing. They're teaching something out of a book. They weren't in the Civil War. They're teaching the Civil War. So it's the same thing in our mindset where we just are going, we're going to teach it, but we don't have to own it or believe in it. And as we talked about earlier, get a buddy or a buddyette and lean on someone else to get through it for your first or two or three times until you feel comfortable. These are great questions.
Awesome. Yeah, that was fantastic, Brittany. I hope that helped. I want to thank everyone in Pulse Nation and across our Brendan Bartic coaching community. Thank you for joining us for this week's Pulse Overtime. Brendan, any final thoughts as we close out this week? We hope to see you back next week at 11:30, right here to answer your top questions and the topics that are most important to you.
Yeah, my final thought is I just really enjoyed all of the questions. Anne's question, I think, is the one that is probably the most potent is, how do I focus on one thing until it's mastered, or do I try to add additional pieces to my business? And as I said, the answer comes back to how much time do you have and how many leads do you need to have to hit your transaction goal? We all have different goals and different mindsets about this. Again, I don't have Anne's life. I don't know if Anne's got 9 kids, 15 soccer practices, all that. If it's all about the amount of time that we have to be able to invest in these strategies. But the answer is, don't start another one until you feel at least comfortable with the one you've already been working on. So everyone, proud to spend this time with you. Look forward to seeing you next week. Fantastic questions. If you are in this group and you're still wanting to join Pulse and you're not in the actual sessions, there'll be a link down here below. You can scan that QR code or all those things. Join, that way you have access to the vault, you have access to the live trainings, you have access to everything and all of the previous sessions that we've already completed. And lastly, so you can get in line with your accountability, right? It's live number tracking. It's making sure that the ritual of, I said I was going to do this, and I'm going to report my numbers every single week. There's integrity, there's honor in that, and all it does is produce rhythm and success. And that's all we're trying to do. So thank you, Anna. Anna, always a pleasure. And everyone, have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.